You can change the course of a mighty river by going up to its very beginning and placing a single pebble. Now, on the surface, that doesn't make any sense, right? So, because what this is saying is, look, if we went up to the very beginning of the Mississippi River, where it's just a tiny trickle, right? We could change the course so that it flows someplace different than New Orleans. And then just to calibrate you, in New Orleans, that tiny trickle is a mile wide. And it doesn't make sense until you step back and you say, it's not instantaneous. We can't go place that pebble up there and then fly to New Orleans and see, hey, it made no difference. But this is how it makes a difference. You make that small change, and that slight trickle takes a different path and starts eroding the ground. And the more it goes in that path, the more other waters come and join it. And the flow gets faster and faster and longer. And over thousands or 100,000s or millions, I don't know, it winds up changing the course of the river. And so, maybe you can do that. And instead of going through New Orleans, we might find it goes through the Sabine River in Orange. And you say, what does that have to do with today's readings, right? Well, look, just kind of think about this. The first reading starts with some guys, some merchants, I guess, saying, we're going to make these little subtle changes to the scales, to these volume measures, right? Why? So we can cheat, so we can get more money, right? And then if you go fast forward to the gospel, we see how that little cheating on the scales have turned into something much bigger, right? Because we heard the dishonest steward saying, hey, you owe 100, cut it down to 80. You owe 100, cut it down to 50. It just shows how that corruption has grown over the years. But it started small, the tiny pebble. And brothers and sisters, right now, we are drowning in a river of hate, in a river of discord, and that is not at all why he died. It's not. We are called to something much better. You see, even those small little cheats on the scale early on, who does it hurt? On the surface, you say, it's not that much, Tony, take a breath. Yeah, it is. If you were the poor and all you had was a certain fixed amount of money, then when you go buy that food that you think that's going to sustain your life, you get cheated. And so it sentences the poor to a death by 1,000 cuts, right? Why? Because they are slowly going to be starved to death. And people are going to copy that cheating, right, as people get more desperate. We're not called to do that, right? It's easy to see that dishonest steward and those merchants in the first reading. It's easy to see that they serve mammon, right? And mammon is just another word for material things, and especially money, right? It's easy to see that's where their heart is. It's not with the people. It's not with the poor. But that's not what we're called to do, right? So what we're called to do is something much different, right? Now, there is a phrase in there that seems sort of not in keeping with Jesus, right? When in that gospel, he says, the master commended the dishonest steward, said it was prudent, right? Well, why was it prudent? Well, in a way, it doesn't make sense because he was doing that for him. He was doing that for him. And so how is he going to change? In other words, if you think about it, you just go the way we normally think. It's like he's just in it for him. And when he goes and stays with those people, he's going to be just sucking on them. But we have to believe we have to believe that love conquers, right? That even though he did it for him, that over a long period of time, his life could change. He could become more loving. He could see up close the kinds of things he was doing and supporting and how it hurt the people who are now taking care of him. And we got to hope and believe that his heart is changed. And Jesus is saying, look, it's easier for the children of the world, right, than it is for children of the light. Well, why is that? Well, the children of the world, right, their love is more like, I will do this for you because it gives me this, just like that dishonest steward, right? It's a transactional love. I'll do this because you're going to do this for me. That transactional love. But that rarely changes the world. What we're called to be is children of the light. And children of the light, the love we are called to give is a love that is totally other-centered. That I do this for you because this is what you need. And you say, well, what will I get out of it? Nothing. I do this because this person needs this. This self-emptying agape love is what we're called to do. This is the model for that self-emptying agape love. We have a choice in what we do, right? I would suggest over the coming week just to step back and just reflect a little bit on your actions. And ask yourself, do my actions reflect more of the people cheating on the scales or the steward who kind of got a little bit religion when he started cutting back on all the invoices? Or do my actions reflect a self-emptying love? And truly, it doesn't matter what your answer is. Because I think what we're called to do every day is to step back, go up to the headwaters, and place a small pebble, right? And change that passion that is evolving into hatred and anger, and change that to a small flow in the direction of loving God and loving neighbor. Amen?